Welcome, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again, and I'm excited to get to some of the questions. Another question from the patron Rob. You talked about virtues such as courage, but are there any vices that you think are important to avoid in general? How do you conceptualize vice, and how does it fit into your system of thought? Yeah, I think that, first of all, I want to indicate that I think the four cardinal virtues are ones that should be given preeminence, which are wisdom, courage, justice, and sophronism, which is not really well translated by temperance or moderation. This is your ability to basically have educated your salience landscape so that you are tempted towards what is good and what is true and what is beautiful. You're sort of doing the opposite of bullshitting. Your salience landscape is been properly trained so that you are naturally led towards our normative ideals. That's sophronism. I think, therefore, the vices that we should pay attention to are the vices that are the opposite, the lack of the cardinal virtues. But I have sort of an Aristotelian idea here that when we talk about a vice with respect to a virtue, we're talking about vices both of excess and vices of deficit. I think what a virtue is very, very, very much overlapping with what a virtual engine is. It's a set of enabling constraints that lift you away from vices of deficiency, and then a set of selective constraints that keep you from vices of excess, and therefore they constantly help evolve your optimal gripping on reality, so that you much better track our normative ideals. So what do I mean by that? Well, the classic example is, of course, Aristotle's courage, right? Courage is not the ability to face danger. All of the virtues have an aspect of wisdom to them. Courage is the ability to see through the way your fear might be bullshitting you about what needs to be done or about what is really going on, or both. And that's not the same thing. And once you see that you can have a vice of excess. You can be foolhardy. You can just face danger. You could jump off cliffs and run into traffic. And that's not a virtue, precisely because, right, it's your capacity to regulate your optimal gripping on the world is lopsided. There's not enough selective constraints keeping you from the vices of excess. But, right, there's also the vice of cowardice, where you let, right, that fear blind you and prevent you from doing what needs to be done, seeing how things really are. And, of course, those are often related. So you need enabling constraints that literally encourage you, that motivate you, that make you consider more options, that open you up and provoke you to explore and take a risk and take a chance. And so what you're seeing, of course, is that, I'm describing vices and virtues in terms of the same machinery by which I explain relevance realization, because as I think I'm trying to indicate, virtue. Virtue originally meant power. A virtue is a capacity. It is a way of seeing and being such that you see through various kinds of illusions and self-deceptions, and you see into the affordances of what will take you, in the sense of of being tempted. You see through and you see into. You're drawn forth, educed. You're drawn forth towards what is true and good and beautiful. So I think, if you think about each one of the cardinal virtues and vices of excess and vices of deficiency, I would recommend those as the primary vices you attempt to avoid.
Saruman believes that it is only a great power that can hold evil in check. But that is not what I have found. I found it is the small things, everyday deeds of ordinary folk, that keeps the darkness at bay. Simple acts of kindness and love. Why, you're Vervaekens. Perhaps it is because I'm afraid. But it gives me courage.